I have Kamala Harris. I want to play both these videos. Here's Kamala Harris making her announcement. 20,000 people in California there for the announcement. That's a big number, ladies and gentlemen. That's a super big number. And she's going to be a formidable candidate. There's just no doubt about it. Here she is. Again, if things can change, but she's running a very sort of broad themed campaign. This is not going to be a steeped in policy. This is going to be, her campaign is going to be about broad liberal visions. She is not terribly ideological as far as I can tell. And in many respects, very much like Obama's gambit, and I think of all the candidates in the race so far, I think she is, Biden would obviously be like that too, to a large extent. I think he's going to come in and just talk about restoring America to America and broad principles. She seems to be running out. Here's her a clip of her speech from Oakland this weekend.
When white supremacists march and murder in Charlottesville or massacre innocent worshipers in a Pittsburgh synagogue, that's not our America. When we have children in cages crying for their mothers and fathers, don't you dare call that border security. That's a human rights abuse. And that's not our America. When we have leaders who attack public schools and vilify public school teachers, that is not our America. When bankers who crashed our economy get bonuses, but the workers who brought our country back can't even get a raise, that's not our America. And when American families are barely living paycheck to paycheck, what is this administration's response? Their response is to try and take health care away from millions of families. Their response is to give away $1 trillion to the biggest corporations in this country. And their response is to blame immigrants as the source of all our problems. And guys, let's understand what's happening here. People in power are trying to convince us that the villain in our American story is each other.
Okay. I mean, it's impossible to disagree with any of those sentiments, but it's also possible to say that's not terribly specific. And now, look, it's an opening speech. Maybe she will pivot into, but I suspect we're going to hear a lot of this. It's not quite, there's no red America, there's no blue America, but it is broadly speaking, I would hope every single Democratic candidate feels quite strongly about we shouldn't have KKK people walking around like we do now. And I imagine we're going to even hear that if there was a Republican primary, we would hear that. Theoretically. But with that said, this video came out today too, or at least is making the rounds. I don't know if
it's making the rounds today.
This is from the Commonwealth Club, which is I'm not even sure the Commonwealth Club. I know that
it's sort of like, isn't it kind of almost like a West Coast like press club almost type of thing?
I think so. Well, here she is in 2010. Now, look, I am not one of those people who believes that you should be disqualified because you're a prosecutor. Had Elliot Spitzer not turned out to have certain private moral deficiencies, and even then, I would have loved him to run for president. I want prosecutors who will prosecute white-collar criminals. That is hugely important. In fact, it's one of my critiques of Kamala Harris that, we've talked about on this program way before anyone anticipated she would run for president as a freshman senator, when we were talking in the context of Steve Mnuchin, who there were people in her office who had developed at least what everybody perceives as a reasonable argument why this guy should be prosecuted, and he never was. But when I see video like this, it's a little bit more disturbing, because it's not hard to figure out the policy implications of this. Now, we just spoke to a professor Jamila Mishner, who wrote about why Medicaid is so susceptible to being implicated by the states. And it basically comes down to a highly racialized situation where people living in poverty, people of color, are just simply, berated for being in that position in our society. And you don't have to be a white politician to take advantage of society's predisposition to believing that people living in poverty have a moral deficit. Anybody can do that. A lot of people have spoken about Barack Obama, who one of the advantages he had to being black was that he didn't have to talk about race in the way that Hillary Clinton did. And Hillary Clinton was punished in some respects electorally for talking about race so much. What Obama did was pursued what they call the politics of respectability. And instead of saying systemically we have a problem in this country that has inhibited people of color's progress in our society, that there is some type of moral failure that they have. We got to be our brother's keeper. This is an individual problem. This is people not stepping up. And this is more of that, but almost worse. Here's Kamala Harris at the Commonwealth Club in 2010.
I would not be standing here were it not for the education I received. And I know many of us will say the same thing. And I believe a child going without an education is tantamount to a crime. So I decided I was going to start prosecuting parents for truancy. Well, this was a little controversial in San Francisco. And frankly, my staff went bananas. They were very concerned because we didn't know at the time whether I was going to have an opponent in my re-election race. But I said, look, I'm done. This is a serious issue, and I've got a little political capital, and I'm going to spend some of it. And this is what we did. We recognized that in that initiative, as a prosecutor and law enforcement, I have a huge stick. The school district has got a carrot. Let's work in tandem around our collective objective and goal, which is to get those kids in school. So, to that end, on my letterhead, now let me tell you something about my letterhead. When you're the DA of a major city in this country, usually the job comes with a badge. And there is often an artistic rendering of said badge on your stationery. So I sent a letter out on my letterhead to every parent in the school district, outlining the connection that was statistically proven between elementary school truancy, high school dropouts, who will become a victim of crime, and who will become a perpetrator of crime. We sent it out to everyone. A friend of mine actually called me and he said, Kamala, my wife got the letter. She freaked out. She brought all the kids into the living room, held up the letter, said, if you don't go to school, Kamala's going to put you and me in jail. Yes, we achieved intended effect.
I don't think that's funny. I think that's extraordinarily punitive and creepy and shows such a. I mean, this is the first time. Obviously, I object to her policies because we have different politics, but that's the first time I've just been really creeped out and disgusted. And I want to just say, I think it's important because I think obviously there's going to be a lot of echoing of Obama's campaigns, but I think we got to go back and look at Bill Clinton's 1992 campaign as well, because on one hand, where maybe it's a positive because of the new political terrain we're in with Bernie and AOC, Clinton's 92 campaign at least had a semblance of economic populism, which she's going to need to put forward. And she did that, but she did it in a very Clintonian way. Like, if the CEOs are getting a raise, then America ought to get a raise, which is a very gentle way of putting it, but it echoes that. But then people also, remember that, Bill Clinton's triangulating on crime and race issues were horrifying. He literally stopped campaigning to execute. Yeah, you were going to say, but he literally went back and executed a mentally disabled black man to prove I'm a different kind of Democrat. So I think, and if the polling bears this out, because you've been saying this, and I think unfortunately you're right, a lot of us are, if you're on the left, you're very concerned about the the prison industrial complex and over-sentencing and the Sesta Fosta stuff, which she's also been incredibly bad on. But I think that what you might see from her is a fusion of Obama and 92 Clinton, and 92 Clinton not just with the sort of like soft economic populism, but actually some, if it calls for it, some very heavy triangulating on criminal justice issues. And I just think if you know anything about poverty or anything about people trying to get their lives together in a certain way, that clip is mortifying, profoundly disturbing.
What's also interesting is that she talks about running for re-election in San Francisco. Now, she's trying to make the jump from San Francisco to the state in 2010. And that's what, everything that we have knocked Andrew Cuomo for is really what that move is. I'm coming from San Francisco politics. There's a reason why they say that, hippy dippy, that type of thing. I've got to show that I am serious, that I can have some type of conservative, moral sort of stance. And that's what she's talking about there. And she's bragging about it. She says, I had to alienate some of my core people on some level, my staff. Like, hey, this is morally wrong, what you're doing. Maybe they all were like, hey, this could hurt you in your re-election chances in San Francisco.
But maybe some people on her staff were actually like, this is incredibly abusive, classist and racial, and maybe we should have some basic integrity in how we do our jobs. Maybe
I'd be curious to see if that, and I don't know how you break that out. It was clear that the school board was also attempting to that. But even if it was effective, which I question whether it was effective, I don't know. But even if it was effective, there's a lot of things that we could do effectively by threatening people to be arrested, and that don't make it right. And that is a little bit disturbing. So, we'll see. But here is another case.